Good evening and welcome to Nox Mente. Tonight's guest is Sarolta DeFaltay. Sarolta is a certified astrologer, ritualist, experienced tarot card reader, and ordained priestess with over 25 years of experience. She has read thousands of charts and has worked with hundreds of clients around the world. She creates ritual oils, incenses, baths, and other ritual supplies, and is a student of alchemy and plant magic. She has facilitated group rituals and has led many classes since 1993. Sarolta coaches clients to articulate their life's purpose in order to embrace their path with confidence, clarify the essence of who they are and what they want, and to create a plan of action that brings tangible results. Sarolta was the first astrologer to provide mobile audio horoscope for cellular phones when she wrote and recorded daily horoscopes for all 12 signs for Nextel from 2004 to 2000 something. I lost that last number. Sarolta, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Sarolta. So I'm coming in right now and I'm going to add to this because first off, Sarolta and I've known each other decades and in person, we both are Wicker Park girls from the days when Wicker Park was exciting and the Smashing Pumpkins were coming up out of there, Liz Fair. I mean, when Wicker Park was the scene, Sarolta,
Wilco,
we could just go on for days on band. And Sarolta has had several bands there. Amazing singer. She backed up Ministry. I could just go on about her music, which is amazing. I've been a longtime fan. But she also, on the occult front, was Miss Occult Bookstore with Russell. And the Occult Bookstore, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Sarolta, it's the oldest occult bookstore in Chicago, right? Wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it started in 1915 or 1905, I think, originally. It was 1905 or 1915, and I can't remember what it was called, self-help books or something, but it's rumored that Aleister Crowley himself visited the store. So
it's really illustrious. And Sarolta was the lady there, was the person you would encounter for years and years and years. And that also gave her a bit of stardom in the occult and Wicker Park music Chicago underground scene during a really auspicious time. And which is how we met, was basically through the occult bookstore, through Wicker Park. So, and then, we've had covens together as we've been to each other's weddings and, the men. Oh my God.
Oh my.
The tears, all of it, girl. So, yeah.
The Manhattans.
Oh, the Manhattans. All
with bitters.
Oh, yes, of course. We do our Manhattans same. And we have so many juicy stories. Just adore you. You're my first old real friend to come on Nox Mente, and I wanted to roll out the carpet for you, and I'm so glad you're our May Queen. Welcome, my love, Sarolta.
Oh, thank you. Oh, wow. I'm speechless. Oh.
So this is great. And I think that it's interesting too, because Jerry's actually from Chicago. And so we are representing Chicago tonight. None of us are in Chicago.
And I had no idea there was an occult bookstore there.
Like a really illustrious one, Jerry. I mean, it's a major occult bookstore in the United States.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's still there, but on a different in a different location, Milwaukee Avenue, and an old employee, Lee, who actually was the one that helped me get the job in the first place. He owns it now,
What's the name of it?
the Occult Bookstore.
Ah,
Hmm.
Is Russell still with us, alive?
Yeah, last night, yeah, Russell is retired, living up in Wisconsin, on writing as he was always when I worked
Yes.
there.
Yes, he was always in a book or
Yeah,
writing.
or playing jazz piano or experimental cello.
Yes. Oh my god,
Hmm.
the cello, that's right.
Hmm.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, there's so many. So we're gonna that's our chit chat for the day. Otherwise, you guys will just get in on a personal conversation with
Exactly.
us. We could go on and on. So let's jump into all this goodness. Let's go back to young, fabulous Sarolta and tell us about the earliest things that you can recall that stick out, like pop culture, cartoons. Did you have a relationship with nature? All the stuff that made you weird and fabulous.
Well, I kept having this idea, this vision. It was very, very bright, and I was asking my mother about. I said, when was this? I remember this, and she said I could remember like a pale colored carpet, lots of light, these big huge windows, which were ended up being like sliding glass doors. And my mother told me that was when I was a year old in Davis, California. My father is out there in graduate school, and she said that I described it to the T. And she said, so I'm surprised I could remember anything from when I was a year old. Um, and I also remember my grandmother pushing me in a swing, and that was about three. I was about three. But swing in Hungarian was my very first word. So I did not say mama or papa. I said hinta, which is swing. So that might give a clue of me, how I grew
Yeah, oh, that's excellent. Well, I love that you named
up.
directly after your mother too. It's always like when I'm looking for you and I've lost you on internet, there's always the two Saroltas. And you're like,
Yeah.
I what what about your relationship with nature?
Well, I always, as a child, I was always outside, and my mother, we gardened a lot. We were always out in the woods, and she always spoke about nature spirit. So I just grew up believing that that was a thing, and I never stopped believing that because we experienced them. We never thought they were imaginary, so we were open to it. Um, yeah, so and always in the woods, always out in the woods, talking to the trees, very much so.
What kind of religious stuff was going on in your household when you were young?
Oh, well, my mother thought it was a good idea to put me in Catholic school, and because she thought it'd be a better education. And I got in trouble because these two boys and I wondered if nuns also wore black underneath their habits. That didn't end well. um, Ended up in the corner for lifting her skirt and whatnot. But um, after about second grade, though, she said that was enough, and we sat around. My mother was very much into the occult and metaphysics. In fact, she was also an astrologer. She is an astrologer. She's still with us. But we would sit around the kitchen table. She'd have those book clubs that came every week, or every month, or she'd have like some kind of occult book. And so, and after we read it, she'd send it back. But there's, it was it wasn't the Time Life books, but it was like some kind of occult book club. But I remember trying to astral project when I was 10 years old, and actually coming out of my body and like getting like so scared that I fell back in. And we would sit around the kitchen table trying to see each other's auras and that kind of thing. So we had kind of a wacky household, but I'm so glad for it.
Yes. Yeah, I know your I know your brother, and yeah, you got a fantastic family. This is for sure. And you're all I think some of this magical stuff, just in my observation, comes from your you're Hungarian. So
Mhm.
I've always just sensed that there was a lot of that heritage deep within you, the folk stuff especially. Y-
Yeah, we have a relative ancestor who her name was Hidesh Kuti Vermesh Erzsébet, and um, she was called a witch because she was always stayed really young. She was an herbalist, and she had 6 sons and a husband that died from cholera. She was nursing them. She never got sick, and at the age of 50, she married a man who was 25. And had a child, and if she hadn't had that child, we wouldn't be here. So,
Oh, wow.
so I'm like, okay, we've got her blood. That's good. We're
Oh,
good.
wow.
Yeah, we
That
wouldn't
is,
be here. Hmm.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so
That's remarkable. The women in your family, that's just all remarkable. How sad though that she lost all those children.
that must have been horrible. I think they were all sons too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that we must have talked about this over the years that she is one of my other middle names are Jabet as well.
Yes, I know that.
So we must have talked about that, but until right now, it just didn't hit me again.
Hmm.
That's interesting. So back here in this early period too, what was your relationship with dreaming?
I've always had really vivid and crazy dreams. I don't really recall anything specific from my childhood, but I've always had very, very, very intense and detailed dreams, almost like uh, a tapestry moving fast, almost like I'm, flying dreams, all different kinds.
So, and do you have, are you able to pinpoint when you really got into the flow of dream recall? Was it puberty? Was it before this?
I think it was before. I remember talking about them. I just can't recall anything specific. But as a child, I remember having a lot of dreams. I can't say right now that I can't recall anything specific. I remember doing a lot of things like meditating before I went to sleep, or
Hmm.
feeling like I was somewhere else, but like waking up and not feeling like I've actually slept, but feeling like I'd been somewhere else.
Did you have, again, early on, were there any kind of like the normative fears that people would have under the bed, the darkness, the wood, whatever?
Um, I was I don't know. I was more afraid of. There was some things in the dark really frightened me. I had fears of the woods sometimes at night. I just had maybe from all the creepy stories my grandmother told me. She would always tell us these stories about there's spiders out there as big as your head, and just the most horrifying stuff. So that's probably where it all came from. But I never really was afraid of nature in the daytime.
Yeah,
So,
but see, all that stuff's all unleashed at night. That's the whole thing.
mhm.
What kind of did you enjoy like horror and sci-fi at all when you were young?
Sci-fi, absolutely. Absolutely, Star Trek.
Yes. Oh
Early, the
yeah.
original Star Trek.
Oh yeah. Love it.
That's always what I wanted to do. I grew up in the 60s and 70s, so yeah, that was a big deal, and you know, all the original Star Wars movies, and saw all those in the theater, and yeah.
It was that, it was the green lady that got me wanting to learn how to temple dance and belly dance from Star Trek. We all know that lady, right? I was like,
Absolutely.
I want this power.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I was mesmerized. And the fact that she was green was even better. It was just more exotic. Yeah, that's all good stuff. And also give us just the surface level uh astro stuff for you.
Oh, my sun sign. Well, I'm a 13-degree Scorpio rising, Aquarius sun, and moon in Libra. I have a huge stellium in Pisces. My asteroids, Chiron, Mercury, South Node, all in the fifth house in Pisces. So,
Ooh,
and
girl.
Neptune on the ascendant in Scorpio. So that's, I've always been totally in the dream realm, or in the fantasy world. One teachers always said when I was in elementary school, she's really smart if she would pay attention, but she's always drawing and staring out the window.
The early goth.
Yeah, always dreaming, drawing, staring out the window. Absolutely. So
Where's
yeah.
your Lilith? Your dark.
Oh, 0 Leo.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 0 Leo. Yes. So that's my 10th house. So it's right, it's the 10th house. Leo, in the whole sign house system. So I've been just doing more whole sign lately. So, but yeah.
So all right, and then let's just move into the general dreamscape. So, and this can encompass your life of dreaming, or it can, if it's changed, if there are things that have changed, then that, yeah, I'm interested in those ideas and how things have changed. But how do you encounter the dreamscape in general?
Um, well, it's always very colorful and very visceral. I do a lot of lucid dreaming, actually. Um, it depends on what it is. A lot of times, I've seen lately that it seems like I'm almost like going down parallel timelines or something, because I keep like having dreams about my ex-husband, and I'll wake up and say, why am I having another dream about it? It's like,
Mhm.
where is that happening? Um, um, but a lot of it's processing, of course. But the dreams I enjoy the most, though, are the lucid ones. I have main dreams I do with that is I seem to approach that with on a bicycle a lot. I'm riding a bicycle, and all of a sudden I'm flying like an ET.
Oh, oh, I love that.
Yeah, and then I go down and roll on some rooftops, and then go back up. So that happens quite a bit, actually. I
I
like.
have That's the first for me, Sarolta. I haven't heard the bicycle flying kind of stuff. It's very giving me Mary Poppins energy.
Yes. That was one of my favorite movies as a child, so that's
Oh yeah,
probably.
how can you not love Mary Poppins?
Mm.
Okay, so in the dreamscape, and also so within the dreamscape, the landscape of it, the architecture of it, are there things that so you do dream in color and vividly. What about, is there shifting architecture? Are there places you go that are familiar and yet possibly they shift around and change, but it's the same place? Or is it always new architecture for you, new encounters?
It's usually new things, but they're old. Like they're like a lot of times dream about. It's always houses, like old houses. But sometimes like there are stores in them. This happens a lot where I have a dream where I walk into a house and it's full of old glass cabinets full of just the most beautiful things, antique jewelry, antique
Oh,
brocades, and just so I'm just digging through looking at things. So that happens a lot. And then I'm always like, but I always have this dream of I've lost something, so I'm trying to find it. But I'm digging through all this beauty. Same with
oh,
clothing, lots of antique clothing, and I'm always like, oh, I need this one. And I need
you sound like you're in my dreams.
yeah. So yeah, beautiful vases and jewelry and antiques,
Mm.
and yeah, a lot of that in my dreams.
And so back to lucid dreaming. So before is it the ascent basically when you're flying that gets you into the lucid state, or what have you found triggers that wake you into the idea that you're dreaming?
Um, so a lot of times, if there's somebody confronting me, all of a sudden I'll just remind myself, tell myself, oh, you're dreaming, so you're in charge. So you could tell them where to go. And then I was like, oh, that's right, I'm dreaming. Where's my bike? or or I'll have something else that I use for. I usually have something that I use as a tool to. Sometimes I'll just fly, but I like to fly in my dreams. A dream I have a lot that's very disturbing to me when I'm in having it is that I'm climbing something, like it's a scaffolding or it's boxes, and I'm really going higher and higher, and it feels like they're falling apart, but I need to keep climbing so I don't fall. And that's pretty disturbing, but I just keep going, and I've never really fallen. But eventually I'll hang on to something and then I'll wake up. So I'm not really sure what that's
And has any of those ever led you anywhere outside of just eventually just hanging somewhere?
about. There was one time where it led me down a tunnel, and then that opened up into a field, and I felt like I needed to run, but I could hardly walk. I was slowing down, and it felt like I couldn't even lift my feet, and I wasn't sure what that was about. Um, so I wonder what if you've heard other people talking about where you just can't move hardly, or it's just like your legs are really, really heavy. And if I wonder what the correlation is to that.
I have heard that before, and it is interesting. You know, there's so much overlap, and that's where, for me, as someone who's really into this stuff, that's where the juice is.
Hmm.
That's where I know that there's more going on than just the personal stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And so I can get into that later. I just so like getting all these little details out when you're so in the lucid state too. How when you first started going lucid, and so when that moment happens where you're like, oh, I'm dreaming, were you able to hold on, or would you get shot back into your body in the beginning of all that?
I think in the beginning it was I would get a little bit when I realized it. Sometimes I would wake up more so. It took practice.
Hmm.
I spent a lot of time practicing that, and writing a dream journal and that kind of thing. And so I really did try to keep it going. So I've worked on it. That's why I think I can stay in it longer now.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. it's like exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever at any point in the beginning feel like, for me in the beginning, the very first few times of real lucidity, and I'm talking high lucidity where you're probably at this point OBE,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all, to me, it's just states of lucidity, including waking
Mm-hmm.
life. I thought I was dead or possibly dying, and that was part of my jerk back. And so it
Mm-hmm.
was always so alarming. And of course, I didn't want to be dead. Did
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever encounter any of that kind of emotional stuff?
Yeah, I have thought I was dead in my dreams before, and that did jerk me back. But then when I woke up, I was like, "Oh, I was just dreaming." Okay, well,
I know. That's
darn it,
terrible.
that was so
You wanna like,
cool.
how could I have done that to myself? I know. I know that feeling. And then for me, it was always impossible to go back that night. But
Right? Yeah.
so, and then, so exploring this idea of states of lucidity. So, is there a difference for you between full lucidity, which is, for me, that's the I'm awake, I'm dreaming and I'm awake, and and so for me, the full lucidity is, yeah, I can go wherever I want. Therefore, I am astral traveling. I am
Hmm.
OBE.
Hmm.
Is there How do you parse language around that for yourself? Are there differences between, a lucid dream and an out of body experience?
I think I just like kind of think, well, which body? Like, yeah, I think a lot of it is out of. I think all of it. Well, half the time I feel like I am out of body. um,
Yes.
I'm just kind of like hovering over my body. It's like always trying to get in there, stay down there.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but as far as when I'm sleeping and having that lucid dream, I do feel like that. I would consider that an out of body experience. Absolutely. And it's such an aliveness. I feel like it's much more. I feel a lot more alive than trying to I don't know, navigate a lot of this this um, third dimensional heavy matter. I'm sure you know what I mean by that.
Oh, yeah. And
It's
we'll get
just,
into that.
it's just, yeah. And then that's why that's why I do any kind of creative work too, and I like to write because I don't feel pulled down. So I don't know. I think so-called reality is definitely overrated. So I really do love my sleep.
Oh, yeah, me too. I can't wait every time. So it's even, yeah, I look forward to it. See, the thing, and the reason why I've been trying to get have this conversation over language is, when Gordon White came on, whom we love. Uh,
I love him.
yeah, oh man, Gordon's great. So, he brought up the same idea, which I'm 100% behind, which is it's all states of lucidity. And
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
language of OBE and astral travel is so Victorian,
Yeah.
where, and so, it seems to me that we could condense this, uh, and make it more efficient. And so that's why, but I respect, it's always good to respect how people parse out,
Yes.
compartmentalize these ideas. But
Hmm.
so I didn't know where you were on that. You seem to be right there with us.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel like, yeah, it is different states of lucidity. I don't distinguish between what is one thing is reality and one thing isn't.
Right. I mean, that whole idea of being lucid is being awake. I mean,
But awake in what way?
exactly.
And
Well,
what do you mean by awake? There are many ways to be awake.
indeed. Okay, and so now that we've got all that stuff kind of nailed down, let's talk about and so in the mechanics of dreaming, and in particular, I want to with you. I want to stick with the lucid stuff, that all that. Uh, do you encounter beings that are not, where there's pushback, so it's not part of your core psyche, and you know, however you want to package the label, other beings that seem like they're driving themselves, that are sentient. So, some people go with angels and demons, some people go with daemons, some people go with aliens, whatever. It's not you. What do you say, Jerry?
Everything is demon.
Yeah, it's the joke these days, right? Literally everything's demons.
It's my joke.
It's true.
I mean, it's taken over.
It's all demons. I agree, Jerry. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what's not a demon? And can you prove it?
Nope.
So, I mean, everything's suspect as far as I'm concerned. So I might as well make friends with them.
This is true.
Ooh, friend or foe is always like, what's your intent here?
Yeah. So is there a question?
Yeah. Do you encounter them? That's
Do
what
I? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do, but they're not necessarily what you would see in a horror film, or it's usually just like normal people, but they're acting a certain strange way that is pushing on me or confronting me. And one thing I have learned in my dreams, though, is to fight back. So I've learned not to get scared of them anymore.
So do you have an example of how you do fight back or stand up and confront them?
I had a very strange dream about this is it's rather personal, but I'm going to go there because why not? I had a very abusive ex at one point, and I had a dream just recently that I was in this room. It looked like a surgical room with a big metal table, and something was delivered to me. It looked like a big, almost like a garbage bag, but it was made out of cloth, and it was put on the table. And so I said, "This is for you." And I opened it up, and it was this person, and his mouth was sewn shut, and his eyes were sewn shut. And someone said, "Oh, now you can kill it." And I said, and I said, "No, I'm not killing it." And I unshut its eyes and unshut its mouth. See, I call it an it. Um, and I released it, and I said, "Just remember who freed you. Just remember who freed you."
Oh,
and
wow.
and then it left and like skulked out of there. And I woke up and I said, "Huh." Okay, well, I guess I'm not afraid of that person anymore. Um,
That's extremely powerful, and of course, I know who that is.
mhm.
That's extremely powerful. How cathartic that must be in
Yeah,
the end.
yeah, yeah. Um, I don't know. I've really been embracing the whole idea of non-dualism, and that things aren't bad or good necessarily; they just are, and it's all about how you frame it. and
Yes.
and even embracing like the worst things, and and just kind of playing with the idea, maybe I really really loved it and that's why it's in my life. and
Yes.
and
Yes.
that just takes away the power it had on me, and I just kind of can laugh about it almost now, which is amazing to me. If anyone had told me that 10 years ago, I would have said, "How dare you?" you
Yeah.
know
Oh,
and
yeah.
but seriously, now I'm just like, well, what's the worst that can happen? um you know um it's I think a lot of it has to do with dream work. Well, of course, all the ritual work, and therapy, of course. But I
Mm-hmm.
think ritualist can be therapy. I think dream work can be therapy. Music is absolutely, doing any kind of artist therapy. So
Being on our podcast can be therapy.
yes, absolutely. I will tell you my darkest secrets.
Well, I love hearing that, especially knowing that story, and it was a terrible time. Uh, that I mean, it gave me the chills, Sarolta, hearing this, and what what a way and what a good example that this kind of energy does work out if we're open to it and give it the room to ourselves, the room to allow it to work out.
Yes, absolutely.
So in this idea of others of things in there, have you encountered what what would be considered like the dead that you know, or disincarnate spirits?
Oh yes, absolutely. I have dreams about my grandparents, and now my father, who passed away 5.5 years ago. They always come to me in dreams. This one amazing dream that I'll never forget I had about my grandfather. It was not that long after he passed away, and he and I had a very strong bond. I had a dream that I was helping him bathe, and he was in looked like, when babies are born with the veil, that they have the sack around them.
Yeah,
That's a
the
Yeah, they had
scowl or whatever.
yeah, yeah, they had that whole, he had like like the whole sack of like birth.
Oh, the
Um,
cowl. That's what it's
yeah,
called, the
and
cowl.
I was helping him, like, helping him wash it off. And to me, that really felt like that was a symbol that he of rebirth. Um, and that image is just an old man in the bathtub and having that water sack around him. Was
That's amazing. That's amazing on so many levels for me to hear because it's deep in the folklore of witchcraft and
Mhm,
across the board from where we hail the Eastern European stuff
mhm.
and even up in the Celtic country. There's so many stories about being born with the cowl on and then in the dreams, and it's so fortuitous, and for you to be part of that through the dreamscape, through your other
Mhm,
self, just
mhm.
is giving me the chills.
Yeah, it's like almost like like being a midwife.
That's
Um,
what I see. That's completely
mhm,
what I see. Yeah.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
That, and have you encountered him since then?
Yeah, he shows up in my dreams quite a bit, and my grandmother too. My grandmother never says anything, but I'm always feeding her. I'm always cooking for her, and she's just nodding and like it's good. It's probably because she was my favorite cook ever, and so in my dreams, I'm always feeding her. It's my turn to feed her. So there's always food in my dreams too, with my ancestors. Always.
Of course, there's how loving that is too, and
Hmm.
special. I mean, that's keeping them alive, and they're keeping
Hmm.
you alive through this membrane that separates us.
Hmm.
Now that does have a connection to like fairy lore too.
Mm-hmm.
The whole being offered food and
Hmm.
entering into
Absolutely.
Yes.
contracts.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
beware
Well,
of those ancestors.
well, even in the like the Chinese stuff too, where you
Hungry
burn the hell
ghosts.
notes. So, well, hungry ghosts, but you also burn effigies of paper. The paper clothing and hell notes, so they have
Right.
money and all that stuff as well.
I hear the afterlife went, cryptocurrency. So that money's not going to do them any good.
gotta gotta keep up with the moving tides.
Make your offerings in Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's right. Or some Dogecoin or something groovy. What about, okay, so in this kind of sector where we are, did you ever dream of someone's passing before they passed?
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. My son's uh, grandmother on his father's side. I had a dream that the grandfather died before, but I had a dream about the grandmother and the grandfather. We were in this house and we were on the very, very top floor. And the top floor there was a slanted ceiling for the rooftop. It was an A-shaped ceiling, and there was like a platform that was polished wood. It was almost like a stage, and in the middle of that stage, out of the wood was an evergreen was coming out of it, and and he was digging underneath it. He was digging it and saying that he was looking for his wife. And then the next day or two later, she passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was, yes.
That's intense.
Mm.
Did uh, so that let me get the details on this again. I want to make sure I'm observing this as I'm really particularly interested in nothing's changed, Sarolta, death.
Mhm.
And so there was an evergreen growing out of a table,
No,
correct?
it's like it was like a platform. It was like a stage almost on the top floor. It was maybe a foot or two higher than the wood floor, but it was like a long platform, maybe 12 feet. I mean, it was long.
Okay.
And it was all very nicely polished, knotty pine wood, and out of the middle was an evergreen. Was maybe about the size of a Christmas tree, but it was growing out of the wood.
Okay. It's weird that my mind went to like those old harvest tables that are super long like that.
Mhm,
You know
mhm,
what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Okay, and then there was the digging.
Yeah,
That's
it was originally just wood, but he kept digging and then it turned into dirt. And he said he was looking for looking for his wife, and then he was preparing something for his wife, and something like that. Um,
oh wow.
it was just like he was doing it for his wife, and I was
Mhm.
in the dream I was thinking, oh, he's going to plant something under the tree, and
Mm.
so it wasn't specifically that she was dying, but when I woke up I knew she was ill, and I said, oh, she's going, you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's potent imagery right there, and it's right in line with it. Did you encounter her after she passed?
no, I wasn't close with her.
Yeah. What okay, and also in this realm, what about animals you've had? Are known, at least.
I have a recurring dream that I'm driving down this country road, and it's very hilly and it's very idyllic. Um, Tall grasses, it must be, August, tall grasses blowing in a breeze. And I come up over this hill, and there's this huge tree next to a barn. And I pull the car over and I get out of the car, and under the tree are all these animals that I grew up with since I was a child, and they're all coming toward me. So that dream I have quite a few times.
Holy wow, it's like Pet Cemetery.
Except they're yeah, exactly. Except yeah.
Except they're friendly and loving and not creepy.
Yes.
It
Uh,
with any of the animals too, were you emotional upon seeing them? What was your mood?
oh, Oh yeah, just so happy to see them. Absolutely. I have dreams about dogs and cats that I've known a lot. I had a very favorite cat, Logan, for years. I think you remember Logan.
I
He
do.
was
How
he
could I
was like
forget?
he was like a big Tonkinese, and he was a tough guy, and just a sweetheart. Though when he passed away, I had a dream that I was walking to a fountain, and it was just then this beautiful, he looked like a mount it was him it was he looked like a mountain lion, except he was kind of a cream colored, and he had these amazing technicolor green eyes that shone, and he walked over to the fountain, and I went over to him and petted him, but I knew it was him in the spirit realm.
And with any of these, oh man, I loved Logan, by the way. With any of these, have you been able to, so and not with the animals, but just with people you know that have passed, that can include animals, people you know in this state that are in that state, have any of them given you information that was pertinent in your daily life?
I can't remember that necessarily. I remember a dream of my father right after he passed, and I was on the phone with him, and he told me that he was just exploring. He was a scientist, so he said, "Oh, I'm just taking the bus, and I'm looking here, and I'm going here, and I'm doing that. So don't worry, everything's good. I'm just checking it out." So like he told, because I was wondering, because I always told him, we knew he was dying when he had cancer, and I said, make sure you report back to me that you're doing your science, and send me a sign back.
Oh,
And
that's excellent. So
so
you had made that communication pact with him, and then there
yes,
he is.
yes.
That is excellent. And the how long after he passed was that?
I would within a year. Was within a year.
Did,
Probably
w-
within 6 months.
oh, really soon.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's fantastic. Did were was there any kind of emotional staircase you had to climb with him also? I know I asked you that earlier, but I'm just wondering, uh, so like, my mom, and so when she passed, it took years for me to be able to be close to her. So we worked into it. Like if she
Hmm.
would be in a room or far away, it'd be something. Initially, she would just show up, and I got too emotional, and the whole thing was shut down. And then,
Hmm.
so the parameters had to be set, and it was
Hmm.
usually like she was in the distance, or
Mhm,
there's like, if there was a communication, it was like one of us is in prison and we're talking on the phone through glass, and
mhm,
until ultimately where it is now, which is fantastic, and we can carry on.
mhm,
Uh, so there was this emotional ladder I had to climb to
mhm.
open to her communication.
Mm.
Did you go through any of that?
Um, I just wanted him to tell me more. So I was like, "Tell me more, tell me more." "Oh, it's okay. I'll be in touch. I just wanted to check in and let you know I was okay." And then another time, I had another dream where I walked up the stairs to a banquet hall, and way off in the corner, he was sitting at a dining table with a beautiful white linen tablecloth, and he's just sitting there with a glass of wine. And I look at him, he raises the glass of wine to me, and I turn to tell the person I was with. I said, "Look, Dad's over there." And then I looked back, and he was gone, and I was so upset. It's like, what? How dare you? I've been asking you to come again, and here you are, and then you go. So
That's an amazing image, though.
yeah.
I mean,
So
really, that's it. Really, it's really amazing. The white linen, the glass, raising it. That's amazing. Were you? So you were upset, but what kind of upset? Was it like a sad upset? Like
No, I was more like, darn it.
you wanted to talk? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I know you're busy, but come on. Don't you have a minute for me? Come on.
Can you spare a minute for your daughter? Jeez.
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back. I do
Yeah.
talk to him, and I feel his presence when I talk to him. So I do, and a lot of times I'll just feel him. In fact, I'm driving his old car now, and I feel like when I'm driving around that he's sitting in the car with me. So I'll just kind of talk to him and say, "Oh yeah, so this is what's going on, and there's this going on. You can show up in my dream and tell me what's happening anytime."
I love that. Yeah. I've gotten to that point. I'm not saying my mom's name, but I've gotten that point with her. Like I can feel like a beloved pet of mine died recently, and it was girl, it's been the hardest grieving process of all these people I've known so close to me and mutual friends of ours and stuff that are all passing. It was like this dog,
It's hard.
dog of all things just took me down. And I have been feeling my mom's presence. And so I haven't seen her really in dreams, but it's just so strangely here. And after, she's been dead over 20 years. And,
Mhm.
and so this new idea for me of the waking experience of dealing with the presence of someone I did know. So the mother, so I know her vibe, I know her energy.
Mhm.
And so you know who they are. It's not like you have
Mhm.
to guess. It's like this person. I know their energy stamp.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and same with our mutual friend and coven sister Tammy. A couple times she has popped in. I'm like, oh, this is clearly Tammy's energy.
Mhm.
And yeah, the dream I had when she passed was amazing. Amazing. And you knew she died though, right?
No, I absolutely did not know that.
Oh,
Oh
girl, I'm so
my goodness.
sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, another Wicker Park sister and Coven sister. She passed in the fall, and she has those 3 daughters and all that.
Oh. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
Yeah. I'll say this dream because it's good. This is a dream show. And since you haven't heard it, and since you obviously were tied into Tammy as well, so the dream is on a highway. There's the highway. I'm driving one way and this car goes the other way. And it's like the southwest. So it's big sky. It's like Sedona-esque or northern New Mexico-esque.
Mhm.
And so this car goes by really fast, and I look over, and all the doors are open and all this, and it kind of just parks or something. I can't remember those specific details, but I somehow I'm at the car now, and the engine opens, and all these cockroaches come out of the engine. She died of brain cancer, girl. And
Oh.
terrible. Oh man, I'll tell you all that later. But it was so the engine is the head, right? And
Mhm. Yeah.
the cockroaches, all that cancer, and but the doors were all wide open, and it was this gust, like almost knocked me down, of wind that went into the winds and was glorious. It filled me with this like intense amount of love. Like I don't know how to
Mhm.
describe it, like a freedom. So there,
Mhm.
the car was her
Yeah.
body and all that. And she, then I found out she was dead. So Nicole had called, and I don't know. It was later. It was around that time that she passed. So, and that was a chilling one, but it was an example of I'm free.
Mhm.
And it seemed perfect for Tammy of all people, that it would be those big symbols, the big sky, the big desert,
Mhm.
the little car that's just riddled and done with it. Every door was open. So
Wow.
yeah, very powerful.
Wow.
very powerful. And then the couple times she's popped in, it's been distinctly her energy, and you know how
Mhm.
distinct her energy was.
Yes,
She was potent.
absolutely. Beautiful spirit.
Yeah, very,
Wow.
very potent. And so I just am now, this is where I'm at with stuff, is it's coming on me like this. I'm like, oh, that's, that's that person.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
I like hearing this with you and your father.
mhm.
What about, okay, so what about, I want to get into a little bit of woo with you.
Oh, good.
Girl, let's get some woo woo on. Uh,
I'm all about the woo.
I know, me too.
Mhm.
So I want to get into kind of the existential stuff with you about what do you think is going on? What's the meaning of this apparent illusion of separation between that state and this state?
I think it's I think it's almost like that happens to keep the I hate to sound not I hate to say the lowest common denominator as far as consciousness, but I think it's to keep people from going crazy. If it's sometimes it's too much for people. Some people can't deal with the woo, okay, at all. So I think that if they wake up, they go, "Oh, it was just a dream. Okay, I don't have to pay attention." And so I think it just makes it easy to function for people that are not curious. Um, I think that the people that are curious, there's a whole lot we could do, but I think it's just to let people just survive, to keep, that's why there's that separation. I think it's just a survival thing. Um, that being said, I don't know how boring life would be if you didn't get into the woo. Like, I don't know how people could live without magic. It's like, really? That's enough for you? um, I'm not sure if that's what you were asking.
It's not
Um,
quite, but so wait, let's back up and come at this a different way, because you brought something up provocative, and the magic of it all, right? And magic in general. How does that play a part in the way you access dreaming and use dreaming as a tool to work in your waking life, and through, how do you use magic, and is dreaming a tool for you in your use of magic?
well, in the dreams, I think everything we encounter in our dreams um, is there to tell us, is a consciousness, is an entity, it's a being. Like, that's one thing Gordon talks about all the time, is about, you know everything is it's approaching everything, including um, like planetary archetypes, or stories, or anything that, as an actual being that has something to tell you, like his whole thing on the mushrooms and psychedelic and plant allies, whatever it is. It's like, what, approach all of those things, approach a rock, approach everything as if they have something to tell you. They are an intelligent force, an intelligent being in their own right. And maybe you just don't know their language. And I think if you just have that kind of openness, um, then everything is, you're much more, you can be open to hearing, instead of like, oh well, that's just a rock, that doesn't have any, or that's just this, or that's just that. Instead of defining things, I think if you try to undefine it in the way that you're just open to, well, not naming what it is, but being open to it telling you. I think that is the magic, of living with that. To me, that is living magically and allowing the dreams to come and tell you things. If that makes sense. It's just to not try to tie things or put them in a box. It's very easy to just, oh well, okay, I know that. I put that in this box. I put that in. But how boring is that? And then you will never hear when they're in a box. Those things are in a box. You can't hear what they might tell you. Symbols are alive. They speak. Old stories are alive and they speak if we hear them. I think everything is. You know, um, everything is demons. Come on. And if you don't believe me, prove it.
All I got to say is they're certainly not from outer space.
So, yeah. So, yeah, I just try to look at everything like what is new here? What don't I know here? What does this have to tell me? Uh, just being very open and very beginner's mind about things, I guess.
I think that's the best way to be always, personally, for me as
Hmm.
well. How do you see the planetary spheres playing into, because this brings it all in for me, and of course they're they're spheres, they're sentient beings the way I see them
Hmm.
in my mind and the way I interact with them. We have uh, Mercury is assigned certain characteristics and attributions, and we call upon Mercury. It's been done since forever,
Hmm.
right? So how do you see all of that? Bring in some of the astrology here. How do you see all of that playing out in the way we're navigating the dreamscape, but through the waking scape? So I'm looking for the magic again here.
Um, well, absolutely. I'm really thrilled that of the revival, that all this discovery of the ancient astrology that's just been discovered, really discovered since Project Hindsight in the '80s, where all these old astrological texts had never been translated are now translated, and now astrology is going back to its roots. Where it's combining astrology, um, alchemy, and magic. Those are the three components of Hermeticism. Hermes is Mercury. Okay, back to so it's all of those three things are always supposed to be together. But um, astrologers were trying to get more leverage in the scientific community. So then they start saying, well, it's just an archetype, or maybe it's just psychological, and maybe it's just these psychological archetypes are represent parts of us, but there's no real magic there. It's um, I call bullshit. It's really is about the magic, and I'm so happy that that's where it's back at, or that's where it's coming back to. Because astrology, I was an astrologer for so many years, but I got really tired of modern astrology. I just got too washed down, and it was just too. There's just something really missing, and studying the Hellenistic astrology and all the old medieval astrology and all those old the magic is back. Um, um, that being said, I think there's a huge magical revival right now. We both know that, that people like Gordon and Austin Coppock and people bringing all the magic and uh, back into astrology, and like all of that is huge right now, right? Um,
It's just nice the
that
Freemasons aren't the only ones doing it.
Thank you.
Amen.
uh, um, and bringing back the magic of things that a lot of people weren't that familiar with, like say Jason Miller's Black School, working with Cyprian, which I'm actually taking that course right
Yes.
now. I'm taking
Yes.
that course right now, and let me tell you, it's fantastic. I
I
recommend.
am so jelly, you know that.
I highly recommend it. Yeah. But that being said, so how's that? Because I think because there's such a people are starting to think more magically. And yeah, it's a little trendy, it's a little trendy right now. Everyone's a witch, everyone's an astrologer, everyone, and it's very basic. um, that being said, though, that it might awaken people that maybe they start out it being a trend, but there might be, it awakens something in them where they will actually do the deep work and, realize that it's not just a cute, trendy thing, and it actually takes work to, all of this is work, it is. Um,
Well,
and
that's what always happens. So the look becomes popular,
mhm,
and everyone gets washed out with that.
mhm,
But in the end, it leaves the real people that are searching and
mhm.
seeking, that are willing to do the work, and the trends move on as they always do.
Right, exactly. So I, for one, I'm fine that it's, yeah, I get annoyed with people, astrologers that really. There was a article out there recently about this astrologer that basically learned astrology through memes, and she's like, and she's charging big money for readings,
Oh
and
my
people are like,
God.
and someone asked her in an interview if she used an ephemeris. She goes, an ephemeris? What's that?
Oh my God.
And she goes, oh, I never heard about that on the internet. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
geez.
sister. But
And now she's got 1 million followers and a Patreon page.
exactly,
Right?
yeah, probably,
He's
right.
making like
But you know what? Basic,
$200K a year.
but basic is as basic does, right? Eventually, if that's as far as deep they want to get into it, then get, be at it, go at it, whatever. But yeah, I can't say that. I have to say it does annoy me, but
It is annoying. However, the one thing that is good with trends is, especially when we're talking about things that need funding, they bring in this wave of money that
Mhm.
allows some of the people doing the deeper research, if they're out there and they're publishing, they're translating, publishing, to get more money to do deeper research and bring out other stuff that was hidden or needs to be translated. So
Mhm.
that's kind of like this undercurrent of the trend. It's an influx of resources.
Right, exactly. So that's, yeah. So there's always a positive side to it, but I do think that the wet magic is being reawakened, and and I think that will inform. Well, it's like a lot of these deities haven't been given in my opinion, given the proper and attention, except by a lot of maybe pagan types, But now I think it's starting to you know, wake up a little bit. And so that's going to inform the whole energy of the planet, and it's going to inform our dream realm. At least I'd like to think so. I think if the more work you do with magic on your own, in your own practice, that it does expand your mind to more possibilities. I mean, I have dreams about deities coming into my, especially ones I'm working with very seriously. So I think it's quite real, and I'll go on record. I'll write it in blood.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
Right, but it's real to you, which that's all that
Uh-huh.
matters.
Yeah, well, yeah. What else matters? Exactly.
Mhm.
Well, that's like one of the deepest esoteric thoughts, out there, is that's the core, really.
Hmm.
Oh.
Hmm.
Do you have any examples of, so nothing obviously current working, but of working with deities where they showed up in your dream?
Yes. I've worked for many years with Sekhmet.
Yes.
Yes, and oh yeah, she's come in, and a lot of times when I've been going through something, she'll just come in and say, "Look, don't forget who you are, okay? You're a priestess of Sekhmet." Basically, it's just like, you know, get yourself together, girl. So I wake up, I'm like, yeah, uh-huh. What would Sekhmet do? Okay. Well, yeah, so I mean, I really have a deep connection that I mean, it just is. It just is. They're part of my family, so I've worked with them very deeply for years and years. So
What so in in downloads or information you're getting in the dream time, has any of that informed stuff you're working on in life? So school stuff or all the art you've done, all the music, amazing music you've done, has any of that come first through the dreamscape?
yes, absolutely. Or even right before while I'm falling asleep. Um, just before I fall asleep, or just as I wake up, I'll remember. I'll have that idea, and I might not have remembered it in the dream, but I wake up with this idea, and I know that it was given to me in the dream somehow, or I accessed it. I have many dreams where I'm in the dream and I'm hearing a song that I just love, and it's so great, and I wow, this is the best song I ever heard, and then I wake up and I can't remember it, but I've never heard it before, so I know I wrote it or have accessed it in my dream, but then I can't remember it, and I'm just trying to. Why can't I remember that song? That was the best song. So, and I've had dreams where I wake up and I immediately write something down, and that has become a song or an idea for something I'm working on.
Excellent. And what about when you were, because I know you've been doing a ton, you've done so much school. This top of the early getting certified to be an astrologer and all the other esoteric studies, but like hardcore university work.
Mhm.
Did anything? Am I roboting?
You did for a
Yeah,
second.
you were a little bit.
Okay, it's weird because it did say connection unstable. So when you were going through university and all that, did did anything come through? Did it help you? Did the dream realm help you?
um, I think if maybe it helped me process my anxiety. I would have all those classic dreams of being in high school, um, naked, trying to find your locker, don't know where it is, and you're late for an exam. Oh, I have plenty of those, and then I wake up, and go, oh, I'm not in high school. I don't have an exam. I just have a paper I need to finish. I better get on it. So in that way, yeah. Um,
That's excellent. And so, oh man, I just drew a blank. I had this amazing question where I was going to. And of course, it's the one thing I didn't write down. I always write down everything. And it was leading back into the woo of all this. So, so back in the dreamscape though, with pulling out downloads and working with possible deities and in this whole idea of reality, have you had anything that felt like recurrence or deja vu stuff or prophetic dreams that then you were able to nail in waking life? And so then you do get that, like, I've been here, or this somehow's played out, I've seen how this timeline goes, or I made a different choice. That kind of recurrence thing, deja vu thing through dreams.
yes, I know I have, and um, I'm trying to remember the details, but I know I have. Um,
Give up those deets.
um, yeah, so give me a minute on that. Let it.
Well, let that stew. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on deja vu when you're having them?
Yeah, I have a couple. I wonder if it's two different timelines meeting for a second, or if it's a precognition that you dreamt it. Um, but it could be different timelines just kind of overlapping is what I'm like I'm not sure. Like it always feels like there's like a delay of there's like, I know what's like, I almost know when the deja vu is going to happen. Like there's like a fluttering of it's hard to describe, but it's almost like there's a fluttering of uh, the way time is experienced. So it's like it's wavy, and then it happens, and then I'm like, oh, there it is, and then okay, then it passes. So it's almost like having a some kind of strange episode. Uh, so I'm not really sure what that is, but I really do experience in that way where it's like a fluttering of time, the way I experience time. Um, so I wonder if it is some kind of um, messing with time, with the time waves, or if there are different dimensions happening at the same time, or I'm not sure. What do you think about that? It's
It's
just,
it's all happening.
yeah, it's all happening at the same time,
Yeah,
right?
pretty much.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah, I definitely think there are parallel dimensions, and I think that's where many of these entities exist.
mhm, yeah,
And somehow energetically they can project here in dreams. Maybe in our dream space connects all dimensions together. It's like a nexus point, which
yeah.
gives them access. And who knows? I mean, it could be anything. It could just be completely um, thought forms that have gone thought forms gone wild.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it definitely happens a lot, and then if you dream it, and then you're saying, okay, I'm having a deja vu. I dreamt this. So is it happening several times at once? But if everything's happening at once, then it's just getting filtered into different pockets, as far as how much we can focus on at once, I guess.
And what we can perceive too,
Yeah.
sensorily. Is that a word?
So
Is that a word? I think so.
sensorially.
Sensei, I know what is the word for that? through our senses.
Mhm. There you go.
Sensorily, it's a word. I thought so.
Is it, Jer?
In a sense,
Sensorially.
mhm.
Oh, I like that.
I didn't use it right, but yeah.
What? Give us the definition.
Well, here's what I was. Yeah, this I did use it right. By the use of the senses, by means of the senses, in relation to or respect of the senses.
Yeah, so that's what I perceived it being.
Yeah, it's a real word.
Thoroughly. Yay! New word today. What about so what about your ideas of, and this goes into a lot of classical stuff, like intent and fate, you know? So the fixed nature of certain things and then our intent around that. Do we have intent? Do we actually have a choice? Are these just time loops? Is it all fixed? Is nothing fixed? Is everything free will and full on chaos, and therefore we can form everything?
Well, when I was younger, I would have, being the rebellious young Aquarius, I wanted to believe. I actually got into astrology because I didn't want to believe anything was fated. Right? Oh, we have absolute free will. We're absolute. Um, um, I'm not so sure anymore. I think there's a lot of what we think we have free will. We're still a product of our um, genetics, our what we are able to understand, what our influences are, what our emotions lead us to, what we want. I mean, can we really choose what we really desire and want? Or do we just want what we want? Um, and I think there's certain things that are rather fated. Studying a lot of things in Vedic astrology, it can be pretty uncanny when you have a certain dasha that is ruled for this many years by this planet, and then all of a sudden you go into another dasha and things radically change. Is that, I mean, you know what I mean? So I don't think we have, I think we have free will to choose. We can always say no. Like, I've done readings for people where they're like, I love this person, they love me. What happened? And it's like everything was set up. It's like they were supposed to be together. It was all set up. Like they both set it up that they were supposed to be together. But at the last minute, one of them chickened out or whatever. There's always that free will. You're always free to mess it up, or you're always free to try to change the way you think about things. But as far as really having changing fate, I'm not really sure. Yeah, in the big picture, I'm not so sure. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not either. There's nothing for me is actually set in stone at all.
yeah, right.
So, but these ponders are so big for me as well. I don't think they're not fruitless. They are
No,
absolutely intent. We need to think about these things. And I mean, it's like, how many different ways can you find yourself to the same point? This is why I love the Vedic stuff. And in fact, there were like 1,000,001 roads, and they all led to that same point. And yet
Yes.
I had 1,000,001 choices to get there, and there were all these adventures on the way, but I still ended up at that same point.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And yeah, some of that, like I just went through this huge, big Saturn cycle, and now and I'm just entering a Mercury cycle, but I'm just going through my second Saturn return.
That's the big one. That's the big one for women in particular.
Right. So it's my second Saturn return, and my natal Saturn is now conjunct the South Node in Capricorn and Pluto. So it's not just not just your everyday Saturn return. Plus, now my progressed ascendant is going into Capricorn, so I'm going to be for the next 30 years Capricorn rising. So I'm like, okay, man, let's do it. So I'm whatever I have to master, just bring it. You know, I mean, what else can I do? I have to I have to be Saturn's bitch, and I'm fine with that. If that's 20 years ago, I said, hell no, I'm not going to be Saturn's bitch. I want to be free. I'm, this, you know.
Yes.
So now I'm like, whatever I'm supposed to do, however hard, I'll do it, because that's what I'm doing. Okay, if this is what I signed up for, let's do it. But let's have fun doing it, and try to be not attached to it.
Yes.
Be a little more not. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Is it so? With the Saturnian stuff in particular, I mean, I've always fought it, and of course the Capricorn women are always, I find myself surrounded by them always. It's just a thing, and of course I have that Capricorn father that wasn't the other father, because it's a tale of two fathers, and so I always struggle with Capricorn. And just recently, and this happened through a series of dreams, I came to terms with Capricorn. I stopped seeing Saturn filtrated through, with the filter of Capricorn in such a negative way. And we're predisposition, like it's almost like it is like a meme, right? And so now I'm also embracing when I encounter this Saturnian hard aspect stuff that happens in a different way. Like, okay, I now can handle this. I'm choosing yes instead of bucking against it, because every time I buck against it, I swear I lose a limb or a psychic limb or something,
Seriously. How much are you willing to pay for this so-called freedom? The one thing too, traditional astrology, that Saturn also rules Aquarius. So, that changed the whole. And I'm like, oh, so wow, so it's not Uranus, It's Saturn. Okay. And that made me think a lot deep. So I made friends with my malefics. Okay, the malefics in traditional astrology, Saturn and Mars. Oh, they're malefics. And I'm like, no, man, they're your friends if you know how to work with them. Because I'm an Aquarius sun, and my ascendant is Scorpio. Scorpio traditionally is ruled by Mars, so I'm like a double malefic. I might as well be a badass bitch, because I mean, and I've always been so Libra moon. Oh, I just want everyone to get along. And I'm really done with that. I think that Libra, everyone says, oh, Libras, and Libra has given me more trouble in my life because I'm trying to make everyone so happy. Don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't buy that stuff. Go with the malefics. Get your ass tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I would say to people.
Yeah, harden up. These are good. These are good lessons, and they do come to everyone's plate at some point. So it's stuff. I mean, maybe some people. Yeah, I mean, we've all seen people who do astrology. You do see those lifetimes where it does seem to all be trines, and these people get nothing done, but they do seem to be content in nothingness. But the majority of people I've ever surrounded myself around have, grand squares, it's like all this crazy stuff. And one of the things I started to notice early on when I was looking at dreams was how these planetary spheres, these gods, if you will, were coming in and interacting with me when some shift was happening, something big. And so starting to address that, oh man, yes, this can be personal, I can Jungianize this, but this is big, and it's bigger, and the energy I'm encountering through the dream symbols are showing me that it's big and bigger, and that yes, it's affecting my personal, everything outside of me is affecting me personally, and yet none of it is me, because I am all of it. And that's something weird to chew on, but whatever. So it's these aspects within the dream that are talking about the astrology. And what I'm finding exciting is what you mentioned earlier about how the old astrology that is now being translated is validating that for those of us that have studied this a long time.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know how the last Mercury retrograde in Pisces.
Yes.
Whoa. I mean, talk about weird dreams. Mercury retrograde in Pisces. I have Mercury in Pisces, so I'm already have like I am, and with Neptune on the ascendant, I don't know if people get what I'm saying or if I'm even saying the right thing. So I like to. I speak better in poetry, so I write songs. I was like, okay, and then it's like, anyway, the dreams at that point were so deep and dark. Like I remember I would be waking up feeling like I had just worked all night. I don't know if you've heard other people talking about that during this. It was a heavy one. Plus, with all that Capricorn, all those planets in Capricorns, Pluto, Saturn, and the South Node, all intensely, in those eclipses in Capricorn, Cancer. So it's been. I think that really affects the dream state. I think planetary energies, like the full moons and the new moons. I definitely see those reflected in there. I wish I had recorded had some things recorded down more specifically to give more specific examples. I think that would be like, okay, what is the dream, and what is the do you have people that do you do that? My problem is when I wake up and I write the dream, but I don't always write that other stuff down.
For me, I've gotten this relationship with each of the planetary spheres, because that's mostly where I do my magic. Is with planetary spheres. So I'm not Miss John Dees, and where I'm calling on angels and demons. I really just work with the planetary energy.
Right.
And that's what works. There's so much shade in the magical community these days,
Mhm.
and uh so
Yeah, I like working with the planets too. That's my main thing. My question was about like when you like writing, like I wish I would write down the dreams like and exactly see what's going on astrologically, so I'd have like a data bank of okay, this is what was going on whenever it was the full moon in this, or this was can't, you know. So
yeah, that's what I'm addressing is, yes, I do that,
mhm,
and because I have such a feel for each of the spheres,
mhm,
that now I know when something is I'm coming into a close aspect with something because
mhm,
of the relationship I have,
mhm,
and I do write down significant stuff that maybe I didn't see, so I have to look further out in the ephemerides and pinpoint, oh, this is coming down the pike, and I didn't,
mhm,
it was further down than I was looking ahead, and and then the emotional tides, of course. Everything for me nowadays too is I wake up and I'm really checking in with the emotional tone of every encounter that happened through the dreams.
mhm,
Was I experiencing fear? Was it loss? Was it joy?
mhm,
Was it ecstasy? The wonderful wet dreams? Was it,
mhm,
like what's going on? And those are all planetary sphere aspects,
mhm. Right,
right?
right, absolutely. Mhm,
I mean, we know this, and so, yeah, I definitely take my own dream interpretation to that level.
mhm. Yeah, that's really helpful. Yeah.
But again, it's like one of the things that we say here in Nox Mente, like, I don't interpret people's dreams. Now, there was a time I had hubris, and I certainly would. Like, I mean, I still have hubris. We all have hubris. We all engage
Mhm,
in hubris, but there was a time I was just so on it, like, "Oh,
mhm,
and I encounter that a lot in the world where I just
mhm.
this dream wizard over there saying, "This is that," and I have to sit back and smile. I think it's funny, and,
Right.
I think it's cute, and it never addresses where how individual we all are, and our interaction with these symbols is so completely personalized. Your relationship with Mars type symbols is I guarantee different than mine. And
Mhm.
so how silly of me to assume I know that.
Right. Well,
And, you know,
but you probably had people knowing that you were interested, so they asked you, right? So that's what I get with the people like want a reading, and then I'm asking them questions, and they're like, "Well, aren't you supposed to tell me what this means?" And I'm like, "You don't." So then I have to just kind of say, "Well, I need to have context, and I'm not here to, and then when they start talking about things, I say, okay, so a lot of times with a new client, I'll do something like, okay, what was going on at this time in your life?
yeah.
And like, oh, that was blah 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 blah. Um, and then I'll be like, okay, well, this is blah, 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 and they're like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden they relax enough to start talking about what's going on, and then I can actually give them a reading. But when it's like they are like, well, tell me what's going to happen. It's like, well, it's not really how this works.
No,
Because
it's
it is like you said, it's extremely personal, and I need to see what like, okay, what's going on last time this happened, like, it's like, say, a Venus retrograde cycle happens every 8 years. So what was going on the last 8 years? What was going on 8 years ago? And what was that
Mhm.
theme? And do you remember? And that kind of thing. Because yeah, that's exactly what it is. And when people can figure that out and they find their own set of symbols, you can't learn magic from okay, I have this book of correspondences. Well, that helps. That can help you. You can get you started, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Gets
yes.
you started. But then after that, it's like, okay, you're going to have your own relationship. So absolutely.
Isn't that the core of all everything we're talking about? That's
Hmm.
this where we develop and understand these energies and how we move around these energies.
Hmm.
And part the great tool here is that we have dreaming as a holodeck,
Hmm.
another hall, because this is a
Hmm.
holodeck as well. But we have that holodeck where there are no rules really, It's as
Mhm.
open as you can be to develop the relationship with these energies. Therefore, you can actually access this stuff that seems really super fantastic in the sense of waking.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Also, I think in the dream realm, not only can you try things out that you might not be able to do yet, or you're toying with certain things in your everyday life, but you can try things out in to see, like you're playing a role, like you're trying it on, fake it till you make it in the dream realm, and then you're like, oh, I guess I got it because I'm doing it in the dream realm, and so it just kind of trickles down into the real world, and you're like, oh well, I guess in my dream that didn't bother me anymore, so it's not bothering me anymore here. Why should it? You know. Um,
you know what? That's how I learned tribal belly dancing in the 80s. I was dreaming it. I was dreaming it, and I'd wake up in the night, and I would be moving, doing snake arms on in my I had been in my sleep doing snake arms, and I could see. I'd wake up and I see my shadow on the wall. And I was doing it, and then 20 years later, when it became a thing, then I did it. I did it everywhere. I was at festivals doing it. I was getting paid doing it with my snake Sasha, and
mhm.
all this. So I was doing all this tribal fusion belly dance a long time before it had an actual name.
Mhm,
And now of course it's a gigantic thing. But I
mhm,
had taught myself that. And so then when I relearned, went and did traditional different types of belly dance, I realized that wow, I accessed this stuff
mhm,
through Venus and Saturn
mhm,
dreams.
mhm, mhm. Well, you were tribal belly dance before tribal belly dance was cool. Well,
It's yeah, but how do you but at least at least it shows that it was there. I mean, there's
and who knows the timeline, how far back that timeline goes for you.
I think well, but I also think tribal belly dancing is ancient, and I think
Oh,
that
it is.
uh,
Yeah.
the way people trademark shit is funny, but whatever. Uh, so, what do you think this state of being is, Sarolta? This wakingness that we're experiencing, this kind of focus on this lifetime that we're all having, and what is how are we pinned down collectively where we're all agreeing that we're here and all this crazy shit's happening?
Hmm. I personally think I think we're really supposed to wake up to the lie that we are powerless, and that we are just this body, and that we don't matter. That and on the other hand, we have to wake up from the lie that you know that is all about the ego. So I think it's a very delicate. It's a very it's like part of you. Yes, you can't be all about that. The ego, only the ego. It's only about you. And at the same time, it is all about us, right? It's a very, I mean, it is all about us in that we control absolutely our reality on some level. That our conversation about fate earlier, um, that may be the landscape we travel, but our consciousness, if we work on it, I think that we have control over. You know, those of us at least who are really aware of it and working on it, right? um our landscape we might not have control over, like we can't ultimately change the collective, right? Maybe if enough people are connecting to do that, um but we can change our own, the way we frame the way we're experiencing it. um What are we do? Okay, tell me the question again. What are we? There was two parts to that.
Well, I guess it doesn't have to be two parts though. The basic thing is what is this? What is this experience we're having? And I know it's obviously it's a great question in literature. It's one of the seven great questions. But within I just want to know your personal perception of it. Why are we having this experience?
I think everybody has a complete unique view. From looking out through my own eyes, um, I feel like I feel like there's so much possibility, and I'm so loving this lifetime. I mean, I have been through so much, but I'm just so grateful for where I am right now. Um, I feel like we really are more powerful than we know. Um, I really, um, I really feel that there is our society wants us to feel small and to be sheep. I mean, I don't, not to get all political, but that's really, I really do feel that the powers that the people in charge, the monetary system, whatever, they want us all to just be afraid. And I think we're really here to awaken to our own power. I really do. And um, I think that's happening, as bad as things are in so many ways. There's so many great things going on right now in our time. Um, Seeing more women in power, to see um, the openness happening. I think it's happening. I'm not a fatalist by any means. I am waiting to see what happens next. Um,
Don't
I,
you see that as like a shift in the eons, though? Like it's part of this, as Jung called it, the enantiodromia, or it
mhm,
we're swinging from Pisces, now we're full into Aquarius.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what's coming up now in 2020, the Jupiter Saturn conjunction in Aquarius. This is the ending over 200-year cycle. Um, I was listening to a podcast with Austin Coppock and Gordon White about that specifically, and they were talking basically, it's over 200 years of the Saturn Jupiter conjunctions. They happen every 20 years. Astrologers define those as big timeline, that mark a timeline um, back centuries and centuries, thousands of years. Going into Aquarius for the first time in 2020, it's kind of going to be the end of imperialism as we know it, going from the earth, of everything conquering this earth. And what Gordon says, and I kind of like that, I like his idea about this. I'm sure he's not the only one that said this, but he says by going into Aquarius that it's we're okay, we've conquered the earth and we're done conquering the earth. We're going to the sky
Yes.
and colonizing the sky. And I'm like, yes, 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 yes.
And even if that's just a symbol,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. It just could be symbolic. Yeah. But yeah, I really think I'm really hopeful. Even with people, how people say, oh, everything's worse, all the fascism. Yes, well, I look at it as, I think it's like okay, I'm hoping, not 100% optimistic. I'm really hoping though, and really um, working in my own life to I work in social work, so I'm in my everyday job. I'm really trying to uh, make a difference in that. But I'm really hoping that this is the patriarchal, dualistic, money grabbing, that it's the last hurrah. Probably not, because humans like drama.
Don't you
We like our dramas, we like our stories. It would get really boring if there wasn't a bad guy, right? So it's okay.
what was your take on the symbolism of Notre Dame burning,
Oh, wow.
having been built on the Temple of Isis?
Yeah. um well, it's a sacred spot. It it
No, 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 not really. What does it really mean? What's
yeah,
the esoteric of it?
you know I haven't really quite. I can't really say yet. I I respect the traditions. I don't know. I can't really say yet.
I kind of saw it as a, the first blow against the patriarch, the divine feminine rising kind of thing.
It could be seen as that. Yeah. I still hate to see beautiful art
Oh, me
destroyed.
too.
It just I it's just hard for me to.
That's one of the things that's constantly that just naggers at me in any of these destructions of beautiful old art and statuary. I don't care what the narrative is. Once the
Mhm,
artisans have made it, and these are check marks
mhm.
and check places in history, and so I just hate seeing any of it
Yeah,
get
it's
destroyed.
just so painful to see that. It breaks my heart. It just the thought of how old it was and how
Oh, that would, but
you know.
But on the
as a symbol, is
conversely though, you've got the go ahead. I've forgotten what I was
no,
going to say.
I was just backing you up, Jerry, as a symbol of the Isis rising, like coming
Mhm.
That was
out of
just
the
one thing.
patriarch.
It's also to, oh, I know I was going to say that, look at it from an alchemical uh, point of view.
Yeah, fire transmutes.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
if
Yeah,
these structures
absolutely.
that are in our reality hold energy
Mhm.
that's tied to whatever intention, you know, it's tied to us. So maybe that's a requirement for us to move forward. Maybe those are the ties that bind.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that doesn't make the as someone who's lost everything to fire twice, uh,
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah.
it's still, like, such a painful thing to
Yeah.
even witness
Mhm.
as a collective act, because it is in the end a sigil. The great cathedral of Notre Dame is a big gigantic sigil, and we all understand what it represents. But
Yeah.
but then for some of us, it also still that don't carry this baggage. I'm one of those people. It represents a place of also refuge and
Mhm.
beauty and craftsmanship and these other things. Also, the goddess survived through Mary,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
so there's all of that tied in. It's a real sticky ball. But the fact that it did burn, the fact that the spire burned, which is clearly a phallus, right?
Mhm.
And there is deeply rich, and I think we will be parsing this out for a while.
Yeah.
At least the point definitely is made. The sigil is burned. The ritual happened.
Mhm. Well, there's so much in the Catholic symbolism and the Mass that are, vestiges of, a magical. I mean, Cath-
Oh
The
yes.
Christianity
cannibalism.
and Gnosticism was very magical. It was very magical, and it's still, and there still is that current in there. I do believe that, especially now I'm doing the class with Jason on Saint Cyprian. Uh,
Yes.
so, and that was one of the reasons I had some negative experiences and feelings about Christianity in general. Um, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to take this class, is to because there's a whole powerhouse of magic that I didn't want to close myself off to, because of personal feelings. And yeah, there's a lot of that's really horrible about it, of course, but all the Abrahamic religions
Uh,
are misogynistic. So, but the original Mary Magdalene was an apostle. I really believe
yes.
that, and so
Well, there's evidence to that
I
yeah,
now.
thought he was
mhm,
she was
yes,
his wife or concubine.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, and they had children together.
The
Yep.
Gospel of Mary, which was hidden from
And
the
he was
canon.
just a
Hmm.
dude.
Hmm.
If even if he
Jared.
existed, he was just a dude.
That's
Hmm.
right.
Hmm. So yeah, so there's a lot of magic there in that. So yeah, no, it broke my heart to see that, and
Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
and I have a hard time saying that, oh, that's the God for me. say that the goddess would want to destroy beautiful art like that. So,
Well, I think in the end we know that is, I mean, where we can attribute the symbols in through that stance. You know, yeah, and especially when we look at symbols that go back further, like the dismemberment of Tiamat and how
mhm,
they've kept her drunk, and Tiamat coming back together, which is, I think, easily overlaid onto all this as well, is not a pretty thing. She's angry,
mhm,
right? They
mhm,
dismembered her. They kept her, what was left, drunken, so that she
mhm.
couldn't find the pieces of herself to pull her pants up and get on with the work.
Yeah, yeah,
So it does make sense. There's a lot of sense in there, magically speaking.
right.
So I'm wondering about your ideas of spirit and soul, since we're in this water right now.
Mm. Well, spirit is more like that spark, that idealism. Soul, to me, that's how I see it. That's, the spirit is um, more mental, idealistic. The soul is the dark waters. That's how I feel it. Um, Symbolically, spirit and soul. Um, See, this is where I'm not 100, where I don't have any fixed beliefs. I really try not to be fixed in my beliefs as far as but I do believe a lot of things are possible. There's one feeling that as there's reincarnation. Yes, I do feel there's reincarnation, but I still believe that these individual aspects of the personality exist in some level, because otherwise how can we access them? um how do we feel, so say my father is reincarnated, but it's maybe an aspect of his soul that is reincarnated, because I can still feel his energy as who he is. So is it an oversoul? I'm not sure. So that's a big question in my mind, and something that I'm constantly thinking about. Spirit, I do feel like there's like this spark that we all have, and each one is individual. And that's more the aspirational and the thing that keeps you going. The soul is the part that deep dives down. At least that's how I experience it for myself. My spirit is like my beacon. My soul is like, the how do I say, the roots that go down into the magma
Mm.
and gets the strength and pulls it up and brings it up to the branches or something. That's kind of how I would.
And then I just have one last question before we ask questions of anyone that's out there, is uh are we dreaming right now?
Yeah, I think it's all. I think it's all a dream. I do. I think we're all like I remember even as a kid thinking, what if I wake up and this whole life I've had is just a dream, and I'm like, well, that's okay. It's been cool, because I'll wake up into something else, and then that's the next chapter. Um, so because of that, I'm not really afraid of dying at all. I'm actually, I don't want to miss anything, but I won't be, because there'll be something else, right? When I was a young child, then that was when I was really like, I cannot die. I have to make sure my son, but my son grew up. Now I'm like, and I'm really happy here, and I'm loving, and I don't really want to go through like. That being said, yeah, I think we are dreaming. I think we're all. I think it's all question. I think it's all suspect,
Yes.
and it's all demons.
I know.
Everything is demons.
Everything is demons, and they're all suspect. And
They're all wearing
hallelujah, and hallelujah, praise demons.
Oh man.
You might as well make them your friend.
Yes.
What's the
Right.
worst that can happen?
Just learn your banishing spells.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, boundaries.
Mhm.
Or just let them just go right through you and not resist them, and then skip past.
Good times.
Absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
a discussion about Notre Dame in the chat.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sure it
okay.
triggered off people talking about it.
Well, I forgot the besides the whatever I said, the ISIS thing, and that there were a bunch of saint statues that were beheaded. They cut the heads off these statues to save them, quote unquote, save them from the fire,
Yeah, I heard about that.
which is pretty anti
Yeah, that's some wild symbolism.
anti-patriarchy. Yeah, it is. It really is. So that's why I thought all that. I was like, oh, it's really. It's like
You
I don't know.
know,
I see things like I see events, large events like this, and I really see more of what I don't know how to explain it. What is it representing energetically in the
yes,
collective?
yes,
Because those forces, those demons, trigger things to happen in the physical world, either by making the little devil on your shoulder, hey, go start a fire. I don't know how it works, but it does. It's cool.
Right.
Good times.
Wow.
there was a oh, I can't remember there was a Catholic church, but I think it was the lesser, not a cathedral. What's the next step down? Both of you who have Catholic upbringings.
Oh, I don't know. I stopped at second grade.
Man, I can't remember. It's the Basilica, is that it? Anyway, it's in Chicago, and it was like close to my sister's restaurant, Jane's, and in
Mhm.
the over in that area, and they had taken down the statues on the top and to restore them. And so I was able to see them, and they had their heads off too. And I said, this is very strange, and they were they're gigantic because they were up on the on the top of the building looking down, and they're all gigantic. And they said they had to take the heads off, or it was some sort of transportation thing to get them safely up there. And then in the end, they actually replaced them with new ones, and the old ones, who knows where they went. But
Ooh.
into private collections, I wish I had
Ooh,
one.
I want one.
Girl, please, me, I live for that stuff. And
Uh-huh.
uh, and so but it did have me all those years ago thinking about, wow. And I think that was when I was first starting to read John Dee's and the Revelation Spirits, that book that I got from
Mhm.
you, probably still. And so it's like 94 or something, and
Mhm.
I couldn't help but think, wow, this looks like like some sort of banishing, or they discharged them, right? They
Mhm.
they What is the main thing you do is you take a head off of the body, you separate the head from the body. So I remember deeply pondering that, and I thought, is this in the Catholic, like the secret teaching of the Catholics? Is there something there that is, to explore? And then this stuff came out, and again, now that's swimming around in my head.
Yeah, I wonder.
It is interesting because the Catholics do believe in exorcism. They do believe in demons.
Mhm.
They do ascribe agency to these entities, and it's all so juicy to ponder. This is
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I like the Catholic faith, though, is because
Right.
there's so much mysticism and magic
Right.
there.
Oh, well, just a fun little aside. One of the things in the black school, we had to. One of the assignments is to get holy water from 7 different Catholic churches. And my partner and I are doing this class together. And he and I, on Good Friday, we figured that would have some really good juice. We did go to 7 different churches. However, only 3 had holy water. So we combined the 3. So we still have to. But that's part of the Jason Miller's class. Just as a little hint.
Oh, I love that's
Yeah.
extremely juicy.
Oh, I think you would really love this class. It's
Yeah.
really juicy when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, I
Some
love.
of the meditations are really great. I heard you're having Jason on too.
Yes, I was going to say in July-ish.
Ooh.
Jerry is so good like that, Sarolta.
Oh, I love Jason Miller. I have like every book he ever wrote, and this is the first class I've taken, but I will be taking more. He is very good. He goes right to the point. He answers great questions. I highly recommend his class, especially if you like this kind of stuff.
Strategic sorcery, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Well, this class is called the Black School, and it's all about working with Saint Cyprian.
Who was? Oh, there was a guy on Rune Soup a couple years back who was into Cyprianic magic.
I'm not sure.
He had a weird.
There's
name.
a lot of people, and there are a lot of people that do it, and there are all these books out there too. So now, like, I don't have enough books, Danishka.
It's in a revival. That's what's
yeah.
great. So we are getting juicy stuff now.
It really is, yeah. Oh, you will have to take this class. I'll tell you about it later.
Oh my God, this has been a joy. And Jerry, I'm sorry. It seems like I took totally over the show this time more than usual. Jerry always has to fight to get a word in. I'm just so sorry about that.
I have no complaints.
I thank you so much, Jerry, for letting me. I knew it was going to be this way, having a friend on. And this wife not really invited many friends because of this. But this was a great chest to roll to. You brought a lot of fantastic stuff to Nox Mente, and I thank you and Jerry both for indulging me. And so again, where can people find you? This is all.
I found that it was Rune Soup with Conjureman Ali.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. From Cat Ironwood's world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wayne's World.
Did she have any questions? I don't even know.
Are there any questions on the chat?
No.
No? Okay.
Not that I see.
It goes like that. I'm not in there, so I don't know what's going on.
It's all good. You hope what?
So what do you have, Sarolta? Where can people find you? How can your services? All that. Okay.
Well, I'm in the process of doing a bunch of things, but right now I do have my astrology website. It's thelilithzone.com. I do articles on astrology, and I'm doing a candle magic thing now. But I do readings. I do all that kind of thing. I am working on a book proposal. I am working on some classes to do online. There's a newsletter there. Yeah, it's really great.
I want to plug your candle magic thing. So you send this out, and it just lines up. It makes it easy especially for people that are just wanting to wing it, because there it is. There's the daily candle magic, and it pretty much lays everything out. So you just line up the astrological hour, and she sends you to this fantastic site where we
can calculate the planetary hours. I keep it open enough because I'm hoping that it's going to be a resource for people that already have their own magical practice, but they just want to have here's the aspect today, and here's the take on it, and that it will trigger them. It's more like a daily practice. I think it's having a daily practice of some sort is good. And this is just, you can use it as a meditation. You can use it to journal. You can do a full-on the one thing I'm trying to do is that if people want to get them in advance, I want to have them available in a month in advance so they can plan ahead. That if they sign up for my mailing list, I think by June, I'll be able to have the full month in advance. That way people can plan ahead and look for something. Oh, this looks like something I really want to work on, and make a bigger deal out of it. So I'm hoping that it's a resource for people that are already magical practitioners, but also that it's simple enough that somebody that is just getting their feet wet or are interested, that that's something that might be helpful. So we'll
Well,
see how it works.
I love it. And, I have been a practicing magician for decades. And
Mhm.
so I just want to say, when I've gotten those, it's like, and can be really lazy. And so, like yesterday's, I'm like, and there it was, you sit here, I'm like, okay, I'm focused again. It's so super simple. You make it so super simple. It's good for the lazy witchy poo, because it's like, here is focus on this. This is the astrology. Here's the hour. Light a candle, and here
Light a
you go.
candle,
Yeah,
make a wish, send it out to the universe. You're done. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah. Come on, this is easy.
come
And you
on,
play games,
get
and you
with
put
it,
it out there.
girl. Get
Yeah.
with it, girl.
So
You want to make magic, or don't you?
it's a great service.
Oh, thank you. I'm hoping that people
Twitter.
will enjoy it. Yes,
And
I'm on Twitter, and I'm working on the Instagram. I'm working on it. Yeah, working on it.
come to Instagram. I just got on Instagram myself like 3 months ago.
I know, and you're doing great. I've seen it. I just have to do. I have a lot of ideas. I've just got my hands, and I'm still. I haven't done any music in a while. I need to do some music. You know how it is.
Ay, ay.
What's a girl to do?
I love you. Thank you for coming on.
Well, I love you too, and I'm so glad to meet you, Jerry. And
nice to meet you.
And it was really fun, and I love your show. And again, thanks again. It was a blast.
We thank you very much for coming in. And thank everyone for listening. And be sure to tune in next week. Who do we have?
JJ.
Right. JJ, apparently is her name. Rain DeBlanc.
The artist.
The
yes.
artist. She makes giant rings that I would catch on counters all the time.
Oh my God. Her jewelry is amazing, people. Unbelievable.
Anyway, thank you, Nish. Thank you, Sarolta. Thank you, listening public. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.